Welcome to the Yuki Gaming VRChat podcast where we talk about VRChat news and events going on in VRChat. Today we'll be talking about the Android mobile beta alpha, that is just released. We'll be talking about this and I'm going to talk about my opinions about why and why not Android is a good idea, and in particular mobile VRChat. So let's talk about the actual blog here. First off, this is a beta, so anything can alpha beta. So anything can happen. There's bugs, so that's gonna be a one thing. And in order to jump into Android beta, Android alpha, first of all, you gotta have an Android device. That's number one. A phone in particular, or tablet. If you have an Android tablet, that's also obviously required. The second thing that is required is a VRChat Plus subscription, which it can be purchased for $10 per month, and you can purchase that on your VRChat account. Second, according to their FAQ, besides the fact that it's Android only and VRChat Plus subscription, it is going to be a lot of bugs. So make sure you guys share your feedback. Minimum requirements: 6 gigabytes of RAM and Android 10. That is very, very crucial. They're also trying to test out to make sure that they don't have technical landmines. And they think that it runs smoothly, but you do need to make sure that you have a cell connection as well as a Wi Fi just in case. But keep in mind that if you switch between the two, you will be disconnecting. So be very careful when it comes to that. Content that is visible, Quest content that is made for the Quest, can also be visible on Android Android Alpha, because of the fact that when you develop something for the Unity for VRChat in particular, there's a choice to build for Android. It just so happens that if you build for Android, you're also building for Quest. If you're building for Quest, you're also building for Android. So in that particular case, whatever is visible for our Quest people can actually see. You can see those. Keep in mind, however, that some things are going to be looking weird when it comes to Quest, when it comes to mobile, when it comes to Quest World. So that could be a thing I need to consider. Okay, so we might have to consider that when it comes to our Moonlight House. By the way, it's getting a rebuild, but I'm not going to talk about it today. Today, will they be labeled differently? They said yes. They're going to have a different tag over the character's head. So, for example, PC, Quest, and maybe a phone. Maybe like a phone icon. We'll see. You can also disable push notifications. That is a thing. Keep in mind that if you are running apps when it comes to VRChat, your frame rate might drop. So please consider closing apps while playing VRChat on Android. And also, if you're thinking about Apple, the most secure version of phone, they are working on a build for Apple. However, it's taking a little bit, but it is on the way. And the alpha already has started. Now, I do want to go over a few things about VRChat in particular that we need to talk about when it comes to Android, and in particular, and on top of that, I should say the demographic, if you will. And all we have to do is take a look at the channel that I have my content on, right? And that is my main channel, RetroYuuki Productions, which will be renamed, by the way, to Yuki Productions in the next few days as we get ready for Yuki Gaming 2023 fall 2023 season, starting next Tuesday. More information about that this week. Anyway, when it comes to content on this channel, when it comes to content on the Android or on the in general VRChat, when we go live every Tuesday and Thursday, by the way, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, 5:30, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, we go into different things. We do different things in VR chat of different activities, as to say. For example, tonight we're doing a open lobby where anything can happen. By anything can happen, we're also talking about any activity can happen other than the current experience. For example, tonight I'm playing as Luna the Wolf, but I'm also going to be doing a game, or we're going to be doing like a hangout. When you're hanging out with people that you don't know, you never know what's going to happen. Okay? But I've been doing VR chat for the last 2 to 3 years, and I've been having an, a good experience. However, different people have different experiences. So when we do VR chat live, there's gonna be a lot of different things that can happen besides a game or the experience that's presented. For example, we could hear profanity. We could do this and that. We could do inappropriate things that kids are not supposed to see. That's where the line is drawn. What do I mean by this? How can I demonstrate? Well, all you have to do is take a look at some of the last streams that we have done. There's profanity in there, automatically not for kids. Second thing, let's talk about another type of content that I do here on VR Chat, although recorded, and that is what you are looking at here, Wolf Ventures. Wolf Ventures is actually a role play series that we've been working on for the last couple of months. Now it's taking a little bit of a quick break, and we're actually working on another role play series coming up with our another character of ours, another person of ours, another friend of ours, and there's another one, another bigger one that we're working on in the very near future called Emerald Peaks. Now, why am I showing off both ventures? Because role playing is a thing in VR chat, and the role players are different. Now, role playing is a little bit more tame than the actual live lobbies for kids in particular. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't come with its own thing. Because you never know what's gonna happen in the Wolf Ventures next episode. Next episode of the Wolf Ventures. I know what's gonna happen. I know the plot because I've been working with our VAs. But what happens if you're a young kid trying to learn about VR chat and you saw this Android beta, Android alpha, and you want to play, or you want to watch, or you want to role play? You never know what the story is going to be, but sometimes the language inside of the story is going to be the one that's not for kids. For example, yes, there's no profanity in the Wolf Ventures, but that does not mean it won't be in the future. What happens in Emerald Peace? You never know. We have 13 actors, VAs, 13 voice actors, 13, around 13 or so. I'm one of them. I play as Francis the Wolf. You don't see him here because it is coming from my POV point of view, but you can hear my voice. I'm playing as a wolf character, okay? And when it comes to when it comes to roleplay and other stuff, okay, let's talk about that part a little bit more when it comes to kids. What you don't know is you don't know the story until you watch the whole thing. What we do is roleplay hard. Not hard, but you never know. You have to understand that as kids. When it comes to kids, they're very curious, and we have to understand that. But when it comes to role play, we're also curious about the story. They're also curious about, oh, what happens to Francis the Wolf? What happens to Crimson Rose? What happens to Kyle? What happens to Gia? What happens? What happens? What happens? What happens? And it's curious. And while we appreciate that because it helps us feedback in terms of the story too. That's pretty cool. But when you're young kid who wants to get into VR chat and you want to role play, that's where it gets a little bit more dicey. You have to find the correct group of people to role play with, and that's not as easy as it looks. Uh-uh. I had to meet these people in VR chat normally, and when I mean normally, I mean our live stream. That's how you start. That's how you technically start. You got to build that relationship between you and another person. When you build that relationship correctly, that's when you should start role playing. But at the same time, is it for kids? Yes and no. Yes, because it's curious when it comes to story, to role play. No, because you might find the incorrect group, and we don't want that, especially when it comes to role playing. That's the hard part. Now, number three, games. Okay. I want to compare Roblox and VRChat for a moment in this particular video, and here's why. If we take a look at Roblox as a whole experience, Roblox, not Roblox, Roblox is definitely for kids, and here's why. Most of the games there are regulated to the point where there's rules. There are rules and there are regulations and there are consequences in a way. Okay? Now keep in mind, however, there are the games on there that are not for kids. Okay? Keep in mind that there are games on there that are not for kids, but most of the time they're okay. Most of the games on the Roblox are not bad. Just just remember to play the correct one, and they're not bad at all. But is VR chat considered a game, or is it considered an experience? In my humble opinion, it is an experience rather than a game. However, there are games in VR chat, but because of the fact that VR chat in terms of age limit is 13 plus, you have to be very careful because 13 plus is not kid friendly most of the time because of what I mentioned earlier about role play and games. Because yes, you're playing a game. However, in the same context, you have to understand that you're also RPing because there is a potential shot that you are also role playing while playing a game. You could be playing a game like, for example, there is Beat Saber VR, but at the same time, you're role playing at the same time. You're role playing because you never know. You could develop your character like that. For example, let's say that I go on VR chat one day. Let's go for a live stream, for example, for instance, and I decide, you know what, Francis the Wolf likes to play Beat Saber. I'm just I'm just throwing this game out there because it's on VR chat. Okay, what we just learned? We learned that Francis the Wolf likes Beat Saber. Therefore, Francis the Wolf has developed the character of being music friendly. He likes music because Beat Saber as a game, in terms of the normal game Beat Saber, is music. And you have to do the sword thingy, the saber thing with the block. Okay, we learned that Francis the Wolf likes music and likes rhythm games. Cool. What's next? Oh, did you know he likes Call of Duty? Ah, there we go. There. Yep, there we go. Because there's a weapons game in VR chat. We play School Battle Royale. That is a weapons game. Oh yeah, there we go. That's when it gets interesting. There's the role play. Okay, so that's why it's 13 plus. Okay, I understand. We understand that yes, there are rules. but it's more regulated in Roblox than it is in VRChat. But VRChat does have its own rules. It's just that I really think the Roblox over VRChat in terms of kids, and VRChat over Roblox if it's the adult. That's my opinion on that. Number four. Number four. When it comes to VRChat and Android. Number four is gonna be more of a more technical, more developer stuff. So, the developer logic, if you will. So, with Android, it's actually easier because of the fact that Unity allows us to export to Android. Okay, and we can do that. There's actually a mobile option. However, I have to do more work, and that's the thing about me as a road world developer. Right now I'm working on Moonlight House build 1.15, although it's gonna be a very delayed because I'm gonna rebuild the village a little bit. I cannot explain why, but that's gonna be a thing I want to talk about later on. I'm gonna rebuild the house too, but that's part of the point actually, because of the fact that if we're gonna go on Android, I have to do a little bit more work. Okay, and we have no idea on how an airport is gonna work in terms of an Android user, because let's just say for example we go on a world like test pilot, we don't know how an Android is going to take it. By the way, test pilot's VRChat allows us to learn how to fly an airplane, because in test pilot you can actually fly a plane, not a real plane, but simulated plane. And yes, you can actually fly said plane, and yes, there are weapons on the plane, and yes, they're trying to emulate the aviation community. And it's actually pretty cool. I'm not gonna cap. But if you're playing on Android, that's gonna be a whole different story because you're talking about a phone and not a computer. That's gonna be the hard part. How are they going to simulate buttons on a plane on an Android device? That's the concern. That's one of the concerns that I'm going to bring up there, because you're going to learn how to you're learning at the same time you're playing. But at the same time, if you're on an Android phone, we have no idea how the controls are going to work because you have to touch certain buttons, and certain buttons you have to touch on the for the plane. Like for example, you have to learn how to use the landing gear, or you have to learn how to retract it. You have to learn how to play with the landing gear. You also have to learn how to do the takeoff. So that's gonna be an interesting concept on an Android phone. So we'll see how it works. I gotta see gameplay of that before I make a final call. Now the last question is, am I going to get an Android just to play VR chat? The answer is no. The reason being, obviously, is expensive. That's number one actually. Number two, the only reason why I would get an Android is to test my VR chat world. That's it. However, as I said, they are working on an iOS build for Apple, so I am still going to be able to do mobile. Now, the other question you might be asking me is, will I, as a content creator, that is, be using VRChat mobile? The answer as a content creator is yes. I will indeed use a mobile VR chat for content creation. I will do that. However, however, when it comes to live streams, I have to use PC. Or if I can get a Quest on my birthday, actual VR chat headset, Quest. I am not going to be using mobile phone for live stream for VR chat. Uh-uh. It's just not going to happen because I have to test absolutely everything. And remember, as part of my content, I use voice mod. I use a voice changer to act as my characters or the characters I play with. So I cannot do that on mobile phone. Okay? And you know me for using my voice to the characters with the voice and the voice changer, like tonight when we do VR chat live. So that's the thing that we have to consider. Okay, that's my TED talk for today for um for VR chat Android. Let me know in the comments. Do you guys think this is a good idea? And do you guys think if you have an argument about one of the points I said, please let me know because I'm trying my best to be as transparent as possible when it comes to news like this. Okay, okay. I love VR chat and I love this community, but when it comes to Android and when it comes to the young kids, I'm very very cautious when it comes to that. That's all for now. That's my TED talk. We'll see you guys in our next gaming news for VR chat next time. Okay. See ya, and don't forget to live life to the fullest, y'all.